Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely impossible season.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakely will dive to the inside.
We'll go bust. We got our elbows out.
Ronard takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to PSGL for Season 43, where we head from the busy and chaotic city streets of Baku. We now head over to the Styrian Hills. We are here in Spielberg, Austria, for what should be another eventful display. Of course, Championship leader Victor Vidler not here this evening, giving, of course, last time out race winner Ave Gabadi a spectacular chance of taking that championship lead. My name is Max Ring. I'll be taking you through all the action this evening, alongside, for the second time this evening, magnificent Joseph Black. How are you, Joseph, on this Thursday afternoon?
Very good for the second, apparently, broadcast that we're doing today. No, it's going to be very, very good, I think. I'm doing very well, thank you. But yeah, we should be in for a very good race, of course, around Austria, the shortest lap on the calendar. And, well, it should be a very, very good one indeed. I believe we've just gotten underway. So we'll be able to get racing on your screens very shortly. And what looks set to be a very intriguing qualifying session.
It certainly does, ladies and gentlemen. Let's quickly head trackside. We'll look at standings and everything a little bit later on. Let's quickly head to the trackside now, where we can see here in Spielberg, we are in some wet conditions. It's raining here in the Styrian Hills. And one thing as well, Joseph, coming down rather heavily as too. Even though the drivers are on inters, the circuit is very much soaked.
It certainly is. It's very, very wet. There's no dry line just yet. And so the drivers will be trying to form one. These first stints won't be all about time. it'll be all about just making sure that dry line forms. And, well, Casper Flash on a set of the wet compound tyres, he will be doing a job for a lot of the grid. We're going to start on a lap, so Max, if you wouldn't mind taking us through the shortest lap on the calendar, courtesy of Jeremy Galonier.
Yep, Jeremy now making his way between turns 1 and 3. Of course, turn 2, just little kink left, even in the wet. It's not really anything to worry about. Braking 100 metres down to second gear. And then this is going to be so difficult in these conditions to get the power back down. You can hear the rear tyres screaming as the torque just puts to pay as he now heads down into the Swash Gold at turn 4, braking once again at 100 metre ball down to third gear, slowly bring the car through, drifting the rear end out as he now makes his way into turn 5, later the brakes, into turn 6, just slowly roll the car through as the car naturally deviates to that outside line before you head into turn 7 and 8. Make sure you don't invalidate through here, but actually in the dry at the very least. Certainly a hotspot for the invalidations, and now sort of going into the two hardest corners in my opinion in the qualifying session round here, turns 9 and 10. Easy to pick up an invalidation, but Gallané to the line. The V-carb with the benchmark is a 1 minute 12.4, around about 10 seconds off where we'll see these drivers in the dry, but that is not bad at all there from Gallané. Now have Kennis going alongside him on the front row for 12.6. But Joseph, I feel like these first laps, they don't really matter because this circuit's going to be constantly evolving.
It certainly is, and so it'll be all down to the last laps in this qualifying session, I believe. We will see how that one stacks up and how all these drivers stack up towards the end of it, but it's a very good start for the two V-carbs, finding themselves in first and second, of course. Giovanni, one of the reserves, didn't think he was going to get much race time this season, and he's being rolled out as early as round number 3. And, well, Giovanni Kennis will be hoping to put on a strong performance, and hopefully he can go up to the top of the timings. Quite a few Thomas Enger Sim Racing representatives here tonight. Giovanni Kennis, Dennis Langrock, who we've just watched go up into third place. TLT's Alan Bader going into 5th. But then you've got Daniel Koya, our now new poleman, Lucas Beisner. And, well, there is so much Thomas Enger representation. They've all gone out early. So they've all done preparations as Ryan Grob, ET8's man, goes up to the top of the timesheets with a 1 minute 12.239. But as you say, doesn't matter all too much at this point in time, but it's always good to get that confidence boost.
Yeah, East Creek up into 5th place. Of course, the good thing about wet conditions is that you just fuel your car up for multiple runs and go again. Here comes Napadovsky now to the line. Till goes to 11th fastest. Bieda slowest of all. Now it's Oleg Napadovsky, slowest of all on a 13.4. Santana runs wide through the penultimate corner, and now as he makes his way to the line, where was this lap time? But the Williams driver across the line, he goes only 11th fastest for Alex Santana. Of course, a podium sitter last time out, finished third, just did not have the pace of Fiddler. And also, actually no, sorry, he was the one that got displaced at the line, was Alex Santana. Between him and Gabadi, 4 thousandths of a second separated that top two. Oh so close in the end is Jeremy Gallané pushing on once again. Yes, he is 2.5 tenths to the good on his previous best. This certainly could see himself now stoop to the top of the times as we see that dry line slowly start to form. See where the track's a little bit less shiny compared to the rest of the road. That's where the drivers are just utilizing so much of the track, and the racing line is really apparent now. Across the line he goes, Gallané, first driver into the 11s. Look at that in the final sector, Joseph. Nearly half a second found as Kennis goes second fastest.
Yeah, Giovanni Kennis up near the top of the times as he and Jeremy Galonier have certainly had the pace in the early part of this stint. But it's really, really interesting to see who's been able to get that pace straight away. And, well, it'll be very interesting to see later on who's able to extract it when it gets a little bit drier. Abe Kabadi up to the front row as well now. He's got a 111.838 and he goes very wide out of turn number 1. They are the only two drivers in the moment at the 111 mark. And Ryan Grob was improving, has backed out. Wojciech Steg then, another Thomas Enger representative, but not representing the team in name here today. He's going to be at 7th place after the first 2 sectors, or after the first 2 laps, and after the first 2 sectors he's improving on his lap time. I believe that was Dennis Langrock moving up into 4th place, just outside of the 1:11. Wojtek Steg around the final corner. What's he going to be able to do? It's going to be right up to the line. It's going to be an 11.713. So quickest of all from Wojtek Steg, and he'll be particularly happy with that lap, but knowing that he's still got a lot left in the tank.
Yeah, it certainly does. You can see the rain is certainly halted ever so slightly. Here comes his creek to the line. He goes up into 4th fastest. Just misses out on those 1:11s. Teammate Casper Flack is pushing on as well. Down to 4th gear, of course, for that final corner. A big snap of oversteer on the exit as he makes his way to the line. He now just places his teammate for like 4th fastest. A 1:11.9 as Curiel now goes up to 2nd place in the 0.7s alongside Wojtek Steg. Gabadi setting himself up for one more. Santana to 5th. A big improvement there from Alex Santana. Of course, probably recovered a lot of that time from when he went wide a little while earlier. Is Daniel Coyer on a lap? No, it seems he is run out of fuel. Lucas Beisner is now running through the final couple of corners. He's up by 0.6 of a second. This could potentially rival Wojtek Steg for that provisional pole spot. Across the line he goes, and he does rival Steg, and by quite some margin for that provisional pole. An 11.4 from Lucas Beisner. Very nicely done indeed there, as of course we are still waiting for the likes of Giovanni Kennis to finish his next lap, and he's 4 tenths to the good. He could potentially now displace the Mercedes runner.
He certainly could. We're going to see where the V-carb goes. There's two V-carbs are at this front after the first and the second runs. Where is Kennis going to be after the pseudo thirds? It's going to be a 1:11.352, and he's at the top, ahead of Beisner by exactly 1/10 of a second. His teammate Jeremy Galonier right now on an outlap, but those two looking like they've got the pace over the rest of the field.
Certainly too, as Janssen now goes 3rd fastest. Here comes Gabadi. Where's he going to place his Ferrari? He now goes to the top of the times, but not by much. 0.03 of a second separate Gabadi and Kennis. But that is a spectacular lap time there from the Ferrari. It's all in the milliseconds, as he knows after winning that race last time out in Baku. It does not matter unless you get it across the line. But of course, we still have this track improving more and more. As Joseph said a little bit earlier on, it is going to be all about those final laps, those final minute or two of qualifying, where the laps really do matter. These are all just sightseeing laps in a sense, to just get to understand where the grip is, know what your car can take. Till is now making his way through the middle sector, up by 1/10 in that part of the circuit, and now making his way into the final couple of corners. See what he is going to be able to do in the kick Sauber. Down to 4th gear. Is there any oversteer here? No, there is not. Nice and clean on the exit. And here comes the kick Sauber to the line and goes 4th fastest on 6-lap-old intermediates, showing there's not much of a difference, as now even Iskri goes to the top.
We've seen this pole position swap so many times, and we're definitely going to see at least a 1:10 later on. Damien Curiel becomes the latest holder of that pole position, just over 1/10 ahead of Ivan Iskrig. So there's so much time to extract in this lap, and they just keep finding it and finding it and finding it every single opportunity they can to make their way up to the top of the field. A lot of it comes down to the fact that it is now a lot drier than it was earlier. This allows them the opportunity to really work away at the times, really work away at some of the corners, some of the mid-speed corners as well. They're able to pick up so much more time. Jeremy Galonier has sat on pole position twice. Ryan Grob takes it. Galonier snatches it right back, and by a huge margin, 0.5 of a second for the V-carb, and he looks like the prime contender at the moment, as he now makes that a 3-peat in terms of the stints at the top, and he is looking very, very strong. But with at least one more run to go, he's still, I think, got to extract even more time out of the lap.
Yeah, he certainly does. Look how dry this circuit is becoming. It's really starting to dry up here, and this is where we're seeing those drivers find so much time on their previous best, because of course Galonier in that middle sector was up by 0.7 of a second. and then found even more in the final part of the lap. Langrock to second, still 4 tenths shy of Jeremy the Frenchman. As we know, in dry conditions as well, is oh so quick in qualifying. Really paying it off here. Wojtek Steg up by 4 tenths in the middle part of the lap. Is there anything more for him in the final sectors? We can see some sun actually starting to shine down onto this circuit, and not much of standing water left. So could we see some potential dry tyre switches near the end? A big wobble for the penultimate corner, a big snap as well under braking for Steg through the final corner as well. Across the line goes third fastest at 11.1 for Wojtek Steg. But with more drivers making their way around on the circuit, slowly trying to find some time, this pole position can go anyone's way at the moment.
It certainly can. And if you see a lap that scruffy and see it up into third fastest, then there's going to be so much time for yourself on the lap, so much more time than you even thought possible. And that's where the drivers are trying to find their improvements at the moment. It's so very difficult for them to just extract the pace lap after lap, but that's exactly what they're doing so far. Commendments then to every single one of these. And, well, I don't think we've got a fight for pole position over by any stretch of the imagination. Lucas Weissner has sat on it briefly. He looks to reclaim that throne, and it will be a 1 minute 10.433, which sees him back to the top of the timesheet. This could go anyone's way. Giovanni Kennis improved by almost 2 tenths. Jeremy Gallonier 2.5, and he will be the latest contender for pole once again. Just about stolen off him a couple of moments ago by Weissner, and Gallonier into the pit. Is this the time where the dry compounds of tyres are going to be wheeled out?
It certainly could be. I did see Damien Curiel potentially switch onto a set of the softs, and then he pushed back against that. Giovanni Kennis is now 12th fastest. Is he going to be able to find an improvement? Yes, he is. He's up to second fastest now, so 10 places gained over the course of the lap. Still 2 tenths off Lucas Weissner, though, who is very much in prime position at the moment. It's constantly changing. I think we have the real shootout between Gallonier and Lucas Weissner. Everyone else potentially just fighting for that second row of the grid. But it all depends what tyre is going to be used over the course of the next couple of laps. Still a little bit too wet, I think, for the slick tyres to come to play. But I wouldn't be surprised here, Joseph, if we see someone like a Zalan Bieda, Tristan Janssen, roll the dice and potentially go into a set of the slicks.
Yeah, give it a go. What's the worst that can happen, especially if you're down at the bottom of the field? Well, I can tell you the worst thing that's going to happen is that you end up qualifying right down the order. And, well, if you're expecting to be there anyway, as you say, you may as well roll the dice. But I think a lot of the drivers down there will at least have a bit of confidence in the pace that they've got. So we will see whether they do decide to do it. But I think unlikely. Napadovsky into the pit lane, the latest driver to do so, as everybody just seems to be preparing for final runs. Who knows what these final runs could see, as we've seen so many different drivers. I believe we've had 8 different players on top of that pole position game. And, well, we shall see how they stack up in just 3 minutes' time. It is just under now 3 minutes left in this session. And we still have so much racing to go. We've not seen Till Achenbach any part of this session, but the Kick-Sauber man is going to try and improve and finds a 10th and some change in the first sector.
Yeah, nicely done there from Achenbach as he now makes his way down into Bosch Gold. It seems that these intermediates at this stage, with the lack of standing water, might only be good for 1 or 2 runs as they start to overheat, especially on those rear tyres. That can really hurt the drivers qualifying. So now for Achenbach, he makes his way through turn 6. That's really, really wide. That's nowhere near where he wants to be, and he's only 3 tenths to the good on his previous best. A big wobble through 7 as well. And now heads into the penultimate corner. 2 minutes left on the clock. These drivers all just waiting out. Napadovsky looking to potentially go into a set of the softs. Through the final corner, then we go with the Kick-Sauber. He'll have time to back off and go again for one more run. Across the line, it's a fastest 6 tenths improvement, a 10.7 just behind his teammate Napadovsky. But now the rest of the competitors make their way out onto the circuit. And one of the first ones is the man fighting for that championship lead. It's Abe Gabadi, 1 point off Fittler, with prime opportunity to go to the very top.
Yeah, he can very much strike here today if he takes his opportunities, and Abe Gabadi will throw that Ferrari through all of these corners, because that's what you have to do really. You have to throw your car through pretty much every single one of the 9 turns around this circuit. And so that's what they're going to be doing. Edgar Baddy through turn 1, turn 2, and then up to the first real braking zone of turn 3. He's going to go again. He's a second off of his previous lap time, as we'll be seeing Abe Gabaddi a little bit later, but at the moment 15th place or 13th place even for Abe Gabaddi is not ideal in any way, shape or form. Jeremy Galonier, it looks like he might be going again. Is he pushing on this lap? Yes, he is, because you can see how much ERS he's used on that onboard of the car. And well, he heads up. He's up by a quarter of a second. Still so much time. I said we might even see 110s, and then somebody slapped in at 110 30 seconds later. Might we even see lap times into the 1 minute 9s? We'll have to wait and see.
Yes, we certainly will. I think there's one issue here, though, Joseph, with Galonier's lap is look at that traffic in the final sector. There is a good 10 cars all lined up, trying to fight for some space, but they've not got much time to do so, as the time is running out, and Baster and Lamrock are involved in that mess too. So for Galonier, has he timed it to sheer perfection? Some drivers are just going to be able to make it to the line. Some might actually miss out. They've all just made it with a few seconds to go. Bieda's not actually. And here comes Galonier to the line. What's it going to be? It's a 1 minute 9.7. Nearly a second found on his previous best. I think we got Santana. Santana was in that queue of cars. It was Curiel who was pushing on, and he's gone to the front row of the grid. Baster and Langrock, look how close Baster is to the car in front of him. That's one of the Red Bulls. Langrock has a bit of free space, luckily for him. And we now head over to one of the Red Bulls. That is going to be off, surely, Wojtek Steg. It is Void. No, it's actually going to be his teammate Daniel Koya, first one round. No, I'm completely wrong here. It's Giovanni Kennis. The Red Bull and the V-Carb colours look identical on the mini-map. And for Giovanni Kennis, through the final corner, can he match his teammate? The rain has come to a stop. He's gone out later. He can beat his teammate. Kennis to the very top. Janssen fourth fastest. What about Abe Gabaddi in all of this? Of course, he's still fighting for the championship. Steg to the top. Gabaddi even quicker. This session, chopping and changing as each lap ticks by. Grob now to second, Baster to fourth. Alex Santana, where does he go? He goes sixth fastest. I don't think anyone is able to beat Gabaddi there, Joseph, in the end. And it's the man who's trying to capitalise on his championship rival not being here tonight, doing it in the most perfect style possible. He backed out of his previous attempt, trusted himself, trusted his guts, and oh boy, did betting all those chips on those final lap pay off. He takes pole position by 0.2 of a second. How close that qualifying session was. Look at that. Galonier was top before all that, and he ends up in 9th.
Yeah, that's the mistake of going out too early for Jeremy Galonier. He is going to be all the way down in 9th place. He literally, it was all down to the fact that he came out too early, because he very much had the pace for pole position, but just jumped the gun. Had he gone around for one more lap, he would have had an opportunity. But I think you just get too excited sometimes whenever you see that improvement coming in, and well, you can really, really have your lap cost by that. But this is set to be a very good race session. A lot of the drivers mostly matched, if not better, on pace. And so this will be a very, very intriguing watch as we will have, our 16 drivers taking to the Styrian circuit.
We certainly will. We'll quickly head to the standings before we head into the race. It will be standings as you can see. It's Fiddler, 1 point clear of Gabaddi. Then Santana, that second place last time out, was crucially denied the victory. He's in third. He's a further 10 points back from Gabaddi. Then it's Eatrick, who only did the one race. He's somehow in fourth. Bieda, fifth. Lamrock, sixth. Curiel, seventh. Diaz, eighth. Diazewski, ninth. Koya in 10th. Then it's Gio, Cavero, Janssen, Manzua, Basner, Galanay, Sosa, Flack, Boba, René Kling, Grob, Veglars, Abadovsky, and Achenbach rounding out your field. But let's quickly now head back to trackside. Not expecting it to be long till lights out. It's a completely change of conditions here, Joseph. We're to dry weather running.
And this is what the drivers will be a lot more prepared for. They won't be prepared for the wet conditions in any way, shape or form. But the dries, well, they'll be used to it. That's exactly what they would have spent a lot of time doing. Because Austria, not particularly the most common circuit to have rain. But of course, that's what we saw today. But that's not what we're going to see anymore later on, you would imagine. Although, hey, you never know. We've not got the weather forecast, but the lights are coming on.
Yeah, here we are, 5 red lights. It's Grob and Gabaddi on the front row of the grid, and we're underway here in Austria. It's a good start from the Ferrari from pole position. He leads the way heading into the first quarter. We're side by side further back between Beisner and Wojtek Steg as we make our way through turn 1. And it actually seems that Steg got the better exit there. A little wobble for Beisner. May potentially have just putting him on the back foot as we now head up the hill into turn 3. Of course, it's all going to congest into here. And look, he's Krieg to the inside. He's going to try and get past 4 cars in one. Just makes contact with the back of Dennis Langrock. Luckily for him, no damage made, I don't think. And he now drops back down into 8th place. Try getting past 4. Gets potentially passed by 2 as we're now onto the brakes. Into the Swash Gold. Gabaddi still holds the lead from Grob, Langrock, Steg, Beisner. It's now going side by side with Giovanni Kennis into turn 6. He's trying to go around the outside of the V-Car to hold on to the position. It's still Kennis on the inside and 7 can't get that move done. And his teammate Galonier was trying to get the move done there as well. And unfortunately, is just not able to get past on Alex Santana as we now make our way into the penultimate corner. Of course, it's a quick, snappy lap here in the Styrian Hills at the Red Bull Ring. It's Gabaddi who leads through lap 1 with DRS now being enabled, but a frantic opening lap there, Joseph.
Very frantic, all the drivers scrapping for position, and they're going to continue to do so. Gabaddi with the fastest lap, of course, because he's in the lead of the race. Very close to the back of Alex Santana is Jeremy Galonier, who's trying to fight back after a poor qualifying in the end. Good pace, but not able to pick it up. Lap 2 of 26 or 36 even, and well, we haven't got any moves being made into turn number 3, the traditional overtaking spots on the circuit. That's the most common place. The next common place is going to be down by turn number 4, and Santana is going to go for the defence on Jeremy Galonier, who's later on the brakes and is going to try and get that turn in. Little bit of contact almost made between the two, but both actually managing to keep it clean, and Alex Santana keeping a tyre in on the inside of Galonier as they head into turn number 6 now. Who's going to get the better exit? Well, it's going to be Alex Santana, who holds on to the position, and P8 is going to be the Williams for the time being. Ivan Skrieg, the only driver to be on the soft compound tyre, so that's why he went for that send at the early part of this race. And Ave Gabaddi and Zalan Bieda make it a hard compound tyre sandwich.
Yeah, we certainly do. And Gabaddi's done really well on those hards to get such a good start and a good launch against Ryan Grob and the rest of those medium runners that were around him. East Creek, he tried the lunge, potentially got caught out under braking as well, and it just did not seem to go his way as we now see Lucas Beisner be able to get past there on Wojtek Steg, and he's up into now 4th place in this Grand Prix, just behind teammate Dennis Langrock. Now be pushing on to try and catch up to his teammate. Kennis might now try and follow him through into the next corner. Return for the Swash Gold, looking to the outside. Just can't get the brakes on late enough. And Wojtek Steg just able to hold on to 5th place for now. This now opens a door for the strategy here, Joseph. Of course, Austria is a 2-stop. You could try the 1, but it's extremely difficult to do. So with the fact that East Creek's on the softs, he's definitely locked in top. But for Gabaddi, could he potentially try that 1-stop here, Joseph?
I think very potentially he could do. He's going to give it a go. Or at least I think a couple of the drivers are going to give the 1-stop strategy a go here. And, well, of course, we will see what happens. It will be very high tyre wear around Austria because of how high speed a lot of the corners are, and that will really eat away at them. So they're going to try and give it their best shot to try and hang on. If he is to stay out as long as he possibly can, then the lap to pit will be lap 20 to 22, most likely. Plan B will be to try and do 2 stints on the hards and then 1 on the mediums. But he's got the clean air, so it's absolutely fine. Alex Santana and Jeremy Galonier scrapping once again for that 8th spot. And in the end, Alex Santana once again managing to hold on. 8th place remains in the Williams' hands, but for how much longer? Jeremy Galonier chases in. He's got a gap to find. Daniel Koya fighting away with Casper Flash in the background. Flash, it just looks like, went for a big lunge, didn't end up paying off. But Daniel Koya, 11th place for himself, just outside the top 10. Jeremy Galonier keeps getting close to Alex Santana. Now, how soon will Ivan Skrieg's tyres fall off in comparison to the rest of the field? We will see. He's going to be managing managing them right now, and he's going to try and manage them as much as he can. I really, truly think that those tyres can go up to about 9 laps absolute maximum, so that is what he's going to be attempting to do.
Yeah, that's certainly what he can try and deliver is Ivan Iskrig. Of course, the issue is with the softs around a circuit like this, where, of course, it's so high tyre, where the mediums can just about make it 12 laps without puncturing or being in that puncture window. So it's all about how he could potentially just hold on to these softs, as we see Santana and Galonier once again go toe-to-toe in battle, and Galonier potentially had a little bit of an oversteering moment, and that's now allowed Damien Curiel, to go for the move into the Swashgold. Down the inside goes the Alpine, and the V-Carb still trying to hold on around the outside, but just cannot do so. Curiel capitalising on the mistake made there from Jeremy Galonier, and he's up into 9th place. Nice stuff there from the Alpine, as he will now set his sights to try and get past Alex Santana. But if you're Santana here, Joseph, you've really got to be wanting to get past Ivan Iskri, because he's nearly out of DRS range to Giovanni Kennis. 5 laps in, and those soft tyres have certainly already hit the cliff.
Yeah, they very much have, and it's time for them to make a switch, I think, as soon as they possibly can. Of course, it's lap number 6. I said they could last all the way up to 9 laps, but that is 9 laps at an absolute maximum. They'll be starting to hit puncture region by that point, and so they will be hoping to be able to hold on to those tyres until at least that point. But of course, before that is when the tyres will start to look a little bit knackered, will start to feel a little bit off. But of course, we shall wait and see. Maybe he's going to be a tyre whisperer and manage those tyres as long as he possibly can. We shall wait and we shall see, as I mentioned before. And this is going to be a very interesting battle strategically throughout the course of this race. Not just these drivers, but also the rest of the field, because, well, they've just got to keep it clean. They've got to keep it consistent, and they have to manage those tyres.
Certainly do. Is now Iskri has been passed by Santana and Curiel, and this could spell the end of those soft tyres here for Ivan, because just look how little grip and how little pace he has got. He's going to now dive into pit lane along with Jeremy Galonier and Lucas Baisner. They've come in for some very early pit stops on those medium compounded tyres. Iskri we were expecting, Galonier and Baisner we were not. So we'll see. Of course, they'll probably go onto a hard compounder tyre, a medium hard is the more favoured strategy, or soft hard if you're Iskri. So we'll see how they potentially now deliver with that one, having that extra speed and trying that undercut. Giovanni Kennis is able to get past Wojtek Steg. He's now up into 4th place in this Grand Prix. Santana now coming under pressure from Damien Curiel behind, of course, the F4 champion from seasons gone past. Now fighting with the Williams driver, and that's a big rear locking moment into the Swashgold. Is this the moment for Curiel to capitalise potentially with the DRS on the next lap?
He's going to hope it will be, and he's going to give it his best shot, I think, for that 6th place, just on the back of Alex Santana. He's got no pressure coming from behind from Daniel Koya, so it's all going to be about that Williams, and it's all going to be about when he can get through, I think, rather than if, as a couple of drivers peel off into the pits. So maybe it is even worse than expected, the tyre wear around here. And, well, we've got a couple more pitters. The lead of those is going to be Giovanni Kennis. We've got Curiel, Koya, Flash, and Janssen all in as well. This is going to be a very, very interesting period of this race. But these drivers just sort of try and stack themselves up on the undercut. Maybe the undercut is supreme. I haven't quite had a look quite yet, but maybe the undercut is just absolutely ridiculous.
We'll have to see where, of course, Iskrig and Gallinet come out to see how strong it is. And Iskrig has only just been able to come out in front of Damien Curiel, and Gallinet is now going side by side with the Alpine on the exit of the pit lane and now heading up into turn 3, and he gets the move done with the DRS. So the undercut has worked for both Iskrig and Galonier. They've been able to get past Curiel, but it's not by much. It's around about 0.8 of a second, I think, really, that Iskrig has found over Damien Curiel, and he's now hitting on to the brakes. So 1 lap doesn't seem too strong, but of course with Grob, Langrock, Steg all staying out those extra 2 laps, we could see them potentially now fall into the clutches as Grob picks up a 10-second time penalty. Disastrous for the McLaren. But of course here, Joseph, with these drivers staying out an extra lap longer, they might fall into the clutches, Galonier and Iskrig, as that undercut could be so powerful for them.
we'll see Ryan Grob, Dennis Langrock and Till Achenbach into the pit lanes, and we'll see where the hard runners are going to stack up in comparison to the rest of the field. Fastest lap for Venus Green the last time out, and he's going to try and follow through ahead of Kenneth, but he will be behind. Ryan Grob is going to fight with Lucas Beisner for the lead of this little group, but at the moment, of course, Lucas Beisner sitting just about ahead. These two will continue their fight onwards throughout turn number 3 down to turn number 4, and Grob with the DRS is going to pull to the outside line of Beisner. Will be through. DRS is going to be absolutely vital here.
Yeah, DRS is going to be oh so crucial, and of course the undercut worked quite well there for Beisner. If he was able to get the move done on Ryan Grob, it could have been looking even better for him, but of course with Grob having that 10-second time penalty, doesn't really need to fight things too hard. He could just stay where he is on throughout the rest of this one and hopefully get by Grob a little while's time. Steg and Santana still staying out alongside Oleg Napadovsky, and they're going to see how long they could take those medium compound of tyres, as Kenneth now sets the fastest lap of this Grand Prix. Galonier is actually really falling off the back of his teammates Giovanni Kenneth. 2 seconds is that gap, so it seems we have our own little trains starting to form, and they might be connected by the time Santana and Steg come into pit lane. We see a switch between the two Mercedes cars, or do we? They're still squabbling on the exits of turn 3, and it's Beisner who drops down behind teammate Langrock. That was very unexpected, potentially a mistake out of turn 1 for Beisner, which gave him that poor exit. But Grob still in that net race lead, you would think, at this stage, but it's Langrock will capitalise now off that 10-second time penalty.
Yeah, it is. Dennis Langrock will be the beneficiary at the end of the race so far, but of course we've got a long way to go and lots of pit stops still to happen. Zalan Bieda up into the podium as Alex Santana into the pit lane. So he's done 9 laps on those medium tyres. If you maths it, 9 laps on those tyres, which is the maximum you can extract out of it, it appears today. The tyre wear is higher than I was expecting. Those 9 laps are going to end up being that... so it's going to be 18 laps done total on that set of the medium tyres, which means, or on any set of the medium tyres, which means in total they're going to have to do 18 laps on one set of hard compound tyres. So that is where the difficulty comes in, and that's what they're going to have to adapt to.
Yeah, it certainly is, because on the back of Gallonay, who's now picked up a 3-second time penalty. So for Galonier, he's not going to be in the best position possible now, with Iskrig now bearing all over the gearbox of the V-Carb. But no move being made there for the Aston Martin against the V-Carb. The two Kick Saubers at the back have just swapped positions. They might just swap once again, as Achenbach is trying to go side by side here with Oleg Napadovsky potentially on the cards, and he wasn't able to get the up and under on Patrick in the Kick Sauber. Gabadi, of course, still staying out. I'm surprised Steg has been able to take those tyres for so long on those medium compounder courses. Grob now adds more misery to his race, picking up a 3-second time penalty. So that's now 13 seconds in the basket for Ryan Grob. Of course, that 10-second time penalty when he comes in once again, does have to try and see where he can recover to after that second pit stop. Lap 12 of 36. Breaks we go, heading up into turn 3. Are we going to see a move potentially from Krieg onto Jeremy Galonier? No, we are not, as it currently stands. But this is the moment he can get it done. DRS open down into the turn 4. But it just seems like he might be a little bit too far back.
Yeah, it might be a little bit too far back, and indeed he is too far back as they head into the braking zone. Giovanni Kenneth at the moment just, he's stretched out that gap to Jeremy Galonier, and this is the fight then for this 8th place. Ivan Iskrig trying to find an opportunity, but he cannot quite do so just yet, and he knows if he makes a mistake, Damien Curiel is right in behind, ready to pounce. And the Alpine 3 tends back probably closer to making an overtake on Iskrig, in fact, than he is to Iskrig making a move on Galonier. But yeah, that is the way that it's going to be with those drivers very, very close together on the circuit. That sort of thing can always happen. And, well, we'll see Ivan Iskrig defending ahead of his rival into the first corner. Damien Curiel staying ahead, as there is now a move for 4th place. Dennis Langrock through on Ryan Grob.
Nicely done there. I think that could be crucial here for Dennis Langrock to get that move done. Now, of course, trying to make his way up through the field as Curiel is able to get past now on to Ivan Iskrig. We said, Joseph just said that potentially Curiel was closer to getting that move done, and you bet right he is. He's trying now to defend the inside line, make sure the Aston Martin's not able to retaliate, and he is not able to. Curiel up into 9th place in this Grand Prix. Of course, will, after pit stops, potentially be a 6th place at the moment, as Baser's now going side by side with Ryan Grob. Actually, what's happened to Ryan Grob? He's got off the road. He's slowing down massively, potentially dropped the rear through turn 6. He's been passed by Kennis. He's pulling to the side of the road. And I think here, Joseph, we're going to see the end of Ryan Grob's race. Something disastrous happening there for the McLaren just as we went off board with him. And for Ryan Grob, after what started like such a good evening on the front row of the grid, by the time we reach that 14, it's race run.
Done as well for the drivers indeed, as Ryan Grob has retired and left the session, unfortunately. That is the way that it's going to be for those drivers. As, well, we are 14 through 36, and we have our first retirement. 16th place, Ryan Grob will end up in 16th. We are down to 15, so we've got a smaller group of drivers here today. And, well, it's not going to be any less exciting, I don't think, because the way that it's smaller, everybody has higher stakes indeed. Wojtek Steg has managed to take those mediums 13 laps, so it's a very, very impressive feat from himself. He's still within the DRS of Zalan Bieda, and he's going to plan to stay within it for as long as he can, as Abe Kabadi and Zalan Bieda into the pit lane. Wojtek Steg, I mean, I said it's impressive. If he takes those tyres one more lap, then they'll be right in the thick of their pit window, the pit window that opened last lap. And so I think we'll be seeing the Red Bull in very soon.
Yeah, I think the one-stop strategy here for Wojtek Steg is what he's vying on, and takes them potentially the end of this. That may be a couple more. Could see himself be able to pull off that one stop. Of course, the lap 36 halfway mark is lap 18, as we see Gabadi actually come out in 6th place, just behind Jeremy Galonier. So he's actually been able to maximise as much as he can on that track position, now only having one car between himself and that field of cars in front. And he has got by easily with the DRS, so that was very, very crucial for Gabadi to come in on that lap. Could have been swallowed up by that chasing pack behind. Santana now looking to the inside here on Daniel Koya for 9th place. He's now making his way up into that P9 spot, and he gets by nice and easily on the exit of turn 4. Zalan Bieda came out 2 seconds behind Aken back, so he's just a little bit further back from this train, but did qualify last and was running last in this train, so everyone started to box. But now, as Wojtek Steg is now onto lap 16, he's really pushed that tyre to the limit here, Joseph, trying that one stop. The main man to look out for at the moment, though, is Abe Gabadi on those fresh mediums.
Certainly is, and he's going to give it a good go here. Abe Gabadi, the only driver who doesn't want to end the session on a set of the medium compound of tyres, or at least the only driver at the moment who is not going to end the session on a set of the medium tyres. Of course, we also have one of the other hard runners who started on the hards, who remains on a set of the hard compound tyres. But yeah, Abe Gabadi, very, very interesting to watch, and he's gained 3/10, 4/10 on Giovanni Kennis in the first 2 braking zones of the lap, as of course I don't count turn number 2 as a corner in that sort of sense of the word, as Damien Curiel through, and Jeremy Galonier just behind them, 1.9 splits Curiel and his next target up, which is of course Gabadi, but I don't think he's going to be able to get close anytime soon. But yeah, for Curiel, he's been waiting a while for that move, and Jeremy Galonier, now he's going to switch from defence to attack mode.
Yep, he certainly is, as Curiel just gets that move done really nicely. And look, as Wojtek Steg now comes into pit lane, we could have a massive round of applause for that stint there from Wojtek Steg, a real tyre whisperer in that one. Able to take them all the way to the end of lap 16. That is a very strong stint, and he's now going to try and take these, of course, hard compound tyres till the very end of this race, and I don't see why he can't do that, as Iskrig now picks up a 3-second time penalty. Gabadi set the fastest lap of this race on that previous tour as well. Just look how far in those 2 laps he's climbed away from that pack of Curiel and Galonier over the course of the past 2 laps. He's now 3.1 seconds clear, and at this very moment, only 2 laps ago, he was by on the V-carb. So it really shows how much pace is on those fresh mediums compared to those old hards, as Santana is now going for that move on Iskrig and gets the move done on the exit of turn 4. He's now up into 7th place. Going to try and get past the V-carb in front of him. The 6th 4-lap tyre difference there as Lapadovsky round the outside of Tristan Janssen here for P11. That's a lovely move down at the back end of the field from the Kick Sauber driver. And Ave Gabadi, now within DRS range of Kennis, he'll surely fly by the time we reach turn 3.
He'll give it a good go. There's two real good braking zones right up here. This would not be the first one. It'll be turn 3 and turn number 4. He tries to fly through the first corner. That's surely a warning on the exit of it. But Giovanni Kennis is going to try and hold on. It's a Thomas Enger sim racing 1-2-3 here. And Ave Gabadi looking to spoil the party. Cannot get through into the prime overtaking spot of turn 3, but turn 5 should be a lot better because you can get a lot of grip out of turn 3, and that's exactly what Gabadi has done. Giovanni Kennis, where are you going to defend, my friend? Because you're going to have to defend at some point. He's going to defend the outside. Ave Gabadi much later on the brakes. That is the difference between fresh mediums and worn hard compound tyres. He's made his way through into third, and he's going to try and pick them off.
Yeah, I think that was quite smart there from Kennis, I think. Just no point fighting someone on much quicker tyres, as Santana now be able to get past Jeremy Galonier. He's up into 6th place. Lovely stuff into turn number 6, and he's going to try now get past on Damien Curiel. But yeah, I think for Kennis, Beisner and Langrock here, Joseph, I think it's all about just let Gabadi through at this stage. There's no point wasting time. There's no point fighting him. Potentially for Langrock, there's a bit more of that, oh, I can fight him. I've got the DRS, so there's no point losing out too much to everybody else because they're on the same strategy as me. For Ave Gabadi, he is absolutely flying at the moment. Just look at that exit behind Lucas Beisner. He's been able to get by and move himself up into third. It's certainly just going to be damage limitation at the moment for these 3 drivers who are fighting with the Ferrari. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Langrock get overtaken by Gabadi down into turn 4 as Santana's able to get past Curiel.
He's going to give it a go, and he is indeed going to get through. Dennis Langrock might give him a bit more of a fight, but no, he doesn't have the grip to be able to. So Dennis tucks back in the position behind, and through goes Ave Gabadi into the lead of the race. And I think he's going to stay there for a while, as long as he possibly can. But of course, these drivers are going to be contending a lot over these positions over the next few laps, and we've just tipped over halfway through, and so we will be seeing them contend throughout the rest of this race. 19 of 36 at the moment, but yeah, at the moment this is looking very, very good in Ave Gabadi's favour. But as I said earlier, he is at the moment going for an unorthodox strategy, which is he's not going to have the faster tyre at the end of the race, and therefore that could really, really throw things into the mixer.
Certainly could, but I think a lot of these drivers are going to be moving on to the hard compounder tyres for this next stint. The usual strategy is that medium hard, because the hard is such a good race tyre. Compared to that medium, I think Gabadi, around about now or the next couple of laps, that medium is going to start hitting that cliff and slowly falling off, and they're going to be around about the same wear as those 11-lap-old mediums of Dennis Langrock, especially those 9-lap-old hards of Alex Santana. Sorry, the hards of Dennis Langrock, should I say. And for Ave Gabadi, he's got to try and maximise this tyre now. He's got to drop Langrock from his DRS range, potentially, by the time we reach the exit of turns 7 and 8. But he's just going to make sure he manages that tyre effectively, pushes it to its absolute limit. Now hits the penultimate corner and the final corner. Langrock just still within DRS range, and this is crucial for Gabadi's strategy here, Joseph, because he needed to break the DRS. At the moment he's not done so, but as we head up the hill into turn 1, Langrock still holding on by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, he's going to give it a go to try and stay within range, and actually in doing so he might just drop Lucas Beisner in the meantime, and in fact he's not going to have DRS, nor is the Mercedes to Lucas Beisner behind, so it might be a little bit of lack of teamwork between the two teammates. Of course, you're not obligated to help your teammate in this, and well, nobody really looks at the Constructors' Championship, but Dennis Langrock should just be giving him a go because it also benefits him. Oleg Nabadovsky on the outside of Zalan Bieda. Zalan just tries to give him a squeeze. He's got the better tyres, and in the end the Alpine through on the Kick Sauber and up into the top 10 positions at the moment. And Daniel Koya, his next target with 7-lap older tyres, almost looked for the move into turn number 4. It would have been an audacious one, but in the end decided to back out of it because he wanted to go for an even more audacious move into turn 6. Can he make his way through as the car just sort of sweeps itself out to the outside line? And Daniel Koya notices this and just decides, it's not my fight. There's no point giving it a go, so I'm going to back out and try and maybe get him back later on when his tyres are slightly less fresh.
Yeah, just got to try his absolute best to hold on as much as he can as you see Beisner come into pit lane, and of course Tristan Janssen back in as well. But for Beisner, he's now going for that undercut strategy. He's done around about 14 to 15 laps on that tyre. now in for a fresh set of the hard to go another 14 laps in the end. Is that going to work out for him? Of course, Langrock has dropped that DRS to Abe Gabadi, but he's not being able to put away anymore, really. It's the Scuderia Ferrari driver, and if he wins this race, he'll take the championship lead by a whopping 15 points. Able to pull this one off. Actually, no, make that 16 points because he got that pole position point as well. So into this race, he ties with Victor Fittler, and he's really capitalising much as he possibly can on the fact that the Swede is not here this evening. And for Langrock, he stays out another lap. Kennis stays out even longer. I think this is a viable strategy for these hard runners here, Joseph. If they can try to take these tyres at least 15 to 16 laps, they can certainly push flat out all the way to the end as Curiel and Gallané into pit lane.
Yeah, they're going to give it a go as this is the final time for the drivers to be coming into the pit lane, and well, they've got 13 laps to do on this set of hards, so those tyres are going to be a lot less worn, and in fact some of them might even be on the medium set of tyres. I believe we had a couple of hard starters, and so towards the end of the race they may well be able to switch onto the mediums, but no, everybody onto a set of the hards. Even Ivana Skrieg, who started on set of the softs, almost completing the rainbow challenge, but not quite going from the red to the white to the white. Could have been the red to the white to the yellow, but decided to dive in early and go for yet another undercut. Ivana Skrieg, very interesting strategically here, and might be an interesting move on Tristan Janssen as he's on the inside line of the Haas driver. Neither of them getting ahead. It's on the exit of the corner where Skrieg is going to be able to confirm the position on Janssen, and that's because his tyres are 1 lap younger.
Nicely done there. Skrieg on Janssen as Langrock now comes into pit lane alongside Giovanni Kennis. These drivers are now going to only have to take those tyres 12 laps to the others doing 13 and 14 as we see back into pit lane. Napadovsky and Flack both picking up 10-second time penalties for speeding into the pit lane. That's pretty much their races run after that one. But of course, Joseph, I think we're really missing out on one man when it comes down to this strategy. Well, should I say the strategy? That's so many different ones throughout this race. It's Wojtek Steg. He's 6 seconds clear so far of Lucas Beisner, 8 seconds clear of the Mercedes teammate of Dennis Langrock. Trying that one-stop strategy. Is it going to be viable? Gabadi, Santana, Bieda all have to come in again. Just how well is he going to work this strategy out? Is it going to be enough for a race victory? Or is it just potentially just going to be a Hail Mary for a podium position?
Well, they're going to give it a go. We'll see what it's going to end up being. But, of course, they've Gabadi at the moment in a very strong position with that gap. And I think he's going to try and hold on to this gap for at least the next few laps. Nobody's coming into the pit lane this time around. He's not going to try and go for that mega 13-lap stint that we saw earlier on. He's going to dive in. He's going to make the switch. And then he's going to come back out of the pit lane. And he's really going to try and extend his advantage further up the order, but we'll see where all these drivers are going to stack up at the end of the race. We're getting closer to it, and Zalem Bieda in fact takes the lead of the race, but of course he's got to stop again.
Yeah, he certainly does, as Gabadi is now going to come under pressure from Dennis Langrock. It'll be DRS open, or is it DRS open? No, he's not. He just wasn't able to get within DRS range of Abe Gabadi. He tried the undercut. It did not work enough. He gained 0.7 of a second to the back of the Scuderia Ferrari driver as the prancing horse now gallops its way down the hill. Turn 3, and he's now got to try and catch up and get by on Lucas Beisner. 3-lap tyre difference there as Gallané and Curiel have a squabble over position. It's Gallané who's able to move himself up into 7th place, but of course that 3-second time penalty will tumble back down this order. But for Abe Gabadi, a really good position at the moment because Wojtek Steg is dropping about 2 seconds a lap to Lucas Beisner. Gabadi is nearly within DRS range of the Mercedes. Could we see Abe Gabadi go back-to-back in the second and third round of the season and be our first double winner?
Well, we very much could. We very much could be seeing that. We will see, of course, at the end of the race who is going to take that victory and who is going to continue their championship challenge. Jeremy Galonier even demonstrating the pace that he had at the start of the race and at the start of the session in qualifying. And, well, he's gone with the fastest lap. Not quite gone his way today, but a top 10 finish is what he's going to be picking up. Isn't altogether too terrible of a result. It could have been better, but it could have been a hell of a lot worse for himself. But yeah, 7th place at the moment, and he's going to come under pressure from Curiel and Escrig and all the other drivers with DRS, which is now after him Janssen, and then Santana, who's just gone through on Achenbach for that 11th place. Daniel Koya also in the DRS. We've got a couple of trains. We've got that one 7th down to 13th, and we've got the one 3rd down to 6th as well. So a real good opportunity for a number of them to really try and extend their advantage and pick up some points. Points mean prizes, and all of these drivers will be hoping to maximise.
Yeah, they certainly will want to maximise and see what they can in these mini trains. Of course, any points is good points when it comes to a championship. Of course, the man in 8th place knows that all too well. When he won that F4 title only a few seasons ago, he didn't even win a single race, and he only podiumed a handful of times, did Damien Curiel. But it was that consistent point-scoring resume that brought him into that title fight where he scored points in every single race. As Santana's able to get past Tristan Janssen. Curiel now up into 7th place once again past Jeremy Galonier. They're going to try and hunt down that gap to Giovanni Kennis in front of them. But that is what won Damien Curiel that F4 championship. In fact, he was so consistent. And I think a lot of these drivers in F3, F4, F2 can learn from that kind of season that Curiel had, don't you say, Joseph, where potentially they go for silly moves that just take them out of the race, or they have a spin, or they just try and push too hard to go further up the order, when all that really matters, even if it's a 10th place finish, is you get that extra point, because come the end of the season, that 1 point can win you the title.
It's absolutely why I despise people retiring from sessions, but hey, I'm not in control of their cars, they are. I'm not in control of the championship, they are. And I'm not in control of what they end up doing, and so I just leave it up to them to decide, rather than moaning constantly about it. Because if I was moaning constantly about the drivers who decided to retire from the sessions, I would be here all day calling out every single individual driver. And well, they've all done it at least once. Even I've done it before, but I just don't get the point in it at all. I think I just did it because I had to leave, but I know a lot of these drivers don't. They just do it, and then they end up sitting watching the stream and moaning about how they could have done it better. But either way, that's the first time I've moaned about that. That's probably the last time as well, because I choose to remain on the positive side a lot of the time. But we'll see these drivers continuing on as Zalan Bieda into the pit lane. So we have a new leader, and Bieda into the lane, and he'll make the switch for the final time in this race, which means Wojtek Steg, who went long in the first stint, he went long in his second, and well, he's going to be having the freshest tyres of the entire grid.
Try and get these ones to the end, because the mediums could potentially do that. As Kabaddi now moves past Lucas Bater for second, and here comes Dennis Lanrock on his teammates for that 3rd place. Late on the brakes. Now into 3rd does go the Mercedes driver. To swap between the Silver Arrows, and Giovanni Kennis now getting involved. Of course, this is his first race of the season. Giovanni still on the podium as a reserve. He'll love to do just that. To the inside he goes into the swash goal. Both late on the brakes. Just look at the car, just understeering naturally wide as he carried so much momentum through the corner, but left the room for Beister, and he moves up into 4th place. Thomas Engersim passing Thomas Engersim, who is behind now, a Thomas Engersim driver. So for Giovanni Kennis, he's going to try and make his way up into 3rd. Dennis Langrock's going to try and hunt down that gap to Ave Gabaddi. I said Baser didn't catch much to Wojtek Steg. In the past lap, Gabaddi's found 2 seconds against Wojtek Steg. He is flying at the moment, and I think the Red Bull driver could say goodbye to a potential race victory. But I think here, Joseph, he could still be well on for a top 5 result.
Yeah, very much could be. It will be a very good result for himself to be able to get up there, and it's looking very solid right now. I think, to be fair, a lot of these drivers have looked very solid across the course of this race. There's not been any real problems, and it's just been there's different strategy things and different strategy splits that have separated them. But in terms of actual driving ability, not much to separate this tier, and that's exactly why we have multiple tiers and we arrange them by speed and based on various different results. We end up getting some very, very good results indeed. Some drivers might not belong here. They get got rid of very quickly, but the majority of them are in the right place. They're where they belong, and they will demonstrate that to us across the course of a season, like right now, of course, when everybody very, very tightly split in qualifying. And even now, the biggest gap on the field is 2.2 seconds between Lucas Beisner and Jeremy Galonier. That is just a demonstration of exactly why we like every single one of these tiers being tiered based on their pace, because at the end of the day we will get to see close racing like this, and that's exactly what we like to see. And well, F3 generally throws up very, very, very good races indeed, and I think we're going to be having another one here. Abe Gabadi looking for the fight for the lead of the race. Wojtek Steg has very worn tyres, so there's not going to be much of a fight back from the Czech man, and Abe Gabadi up into the lead of the race, and he has managed those tyres perfectly.
Yeah, well done there to Abe Gabadi to move himself up into that race lead, and now going to try and push on for the remainder of this one. Langrock in third, just got Giovanni Kennis right behind him, and Wojtek Steg, of course, trying to hold on for as much as he possibly can. And I think, as I mentioned, it could be a 5th place finish potentially. Going to have some DRS down that main straight, though. That could come to aid against the Mercedes driver. Will have some DRS down that main straight, and we'll open that up. I don't think he'll be able to get back within DRS range for the next straight, but at least it holds him off for an extra straight. Actually, Langrock with a poor exit out of the final corner, and I think Wojtek, was he able to do it? No, just was missed out on getting that DRS once again on Gabadi. Langrock could get closer and closer, but will not get close enough on this occasion heading into turn 3. But heading into 4 could be where we see the Mercedes driver get the opportunity and pounce, like we saw with Abe Gabadi. But again, it just doesn't seem like he is close enough to do that. He's got the DRS open. He is just going to be able to catch up with the battery and slam onto the brakes to move up into that 2nd place spot. We've got, of course, when we cross the line, 4 racing laps to go. And for Wojtek Steg, he's been overtaken by Langrock. Gabadi's checked out in front. We're not going to have to worry about him for the rest of the race, you feel like. It's now going to be the battle between Steg, Kennis and Beisner, who finishes where? In 3rd, 4th and 5th.
Yeah, it certainly will be 3rd, 4th and 5th. The main ones being scrapped over. Dennis Langrock just looks like he's going to be a little bit too far ahead. Giovanni Kennis looks like he's got the tyres in the best condition as well. He's only done 8 laps on them, but it's 15 for Steg and 10 for Lucas Beisner. So the opportunities are going to be rife for him to try and make his way through for him, to try and extend that gap on Steg and maybe be the only fighter for Dennis Langrock on this stint. And well, we'll of course see how they get on across the remainder of this race. Not too long to go then, lap 33 of 36, and well, we are ticking down the laps very, very rapidly now. The drivers are going to be starting to get a bit nervous about the end, a bit nervous about tyre wear, a bit nervous about everything else. That is what goes through a driver's mind right at the very end of a race. You have managed your tyres up to this point. You've been absolutely fine. Generally, a lot of them are closer to puncture wear than they give off, and they're closer to combusting mentally and physically than they give off as well, because they've of course been aiming for perfection and almost getting perfection. They've been very, very quick over the course of 33 laps so far, and just a few more laps to go. They can sense the end, they can taste it, but they know that they have to remain mistake free. They know they have to remain ready to remain in this fight, and it's all going to come down to who has the biggest bottle, essentially, who's got the best stamina, and then we'll get our race victor decided from that. It looks as though it's going to be Abe Gabadi who's got that advantage over the rest of the field, but of course all the other positions still yet to be scrapped over, and even if you don't take the overall victory, you can still get a lot of moral victories.
Danny Napadovsky comes into pit lane and retires. That is our 2nd retirement of the Grand Prix. Any further action in this one? I said it was the battle between 3rd, 4th and 5th near the end of this one here, Joseph. But Dennis Langrock has just not been able to shake the Red Bull of Wojtek Steg from his gearbox. Steg's been able to stay within DRS range for the past few laps and is now actually starting to inch ever closer to the back of the Mercedes man. So even on 17-lap-old tyres, a 7-lap tyre difference for Dennis Langrock still is showing some decent pace. And this could potentially mean Wojtek Steg sees himself onto that podium, because it's given him that arm's reach away from Giovanni Kennis, who just can't get close enough even with the DRS. But of course, with Steg having the same, it opens up that rear wing even more, and that leaves doesn't open that much of a hole anymore, and what he could have done and give him as much of speed as he potentially could. And for Abe Gabadi, he's 2.9 seconds clear. He is checked out, and will Kennis get past Wojtek Steg on this potential occasion?
He's going to give it a go, and it'll be out of the exit of turn 3. Not many moves made into turn 3, but lots of moves set up out on the exit of it, and that's exactly what he's going to try and do, opening up the DRS opening up his ERS as well, and he's going to look to the outside. Steg gives him a little bit of room, but not enough to really properly challenge. We're going to go back on board with the VCARB driver as he tries to challenge the sister team, or he will be the sister team. He'll be trying to challenge the senior team, and he cannot quite find his way through just yet. Zalin Bieda just jumps up into the top 10 with those medium compound tyres. He gets past on Tristan Janssen. Both drivers have had pretty anonymous races, but that's sometimes a good thing. You sometimes don't want to be known when you are further down the order. Well, that's exactly, I think, what has happened to these drivers. They've just been quietly going about their business, quietly going home to pick up a decent haul of points, or in Tristan's case, no points at all. But any sort of points is a decent haul of points. But yeah, we will see where they end up. We will see where they stack up towards the end of this race, which, of course, we are heading on to now, the final lap of the race.
Yeah, onto the final lap now, and it seems that potentially Kenneth might just fall short against Wojtek Steg. He's really got one more opportunity, and that's now down into turn 4 here. Is he going to be late enough for the brakes? No, he is not, but Steg goes deep, and that could potentially now just open up the door for Kenneth to get the run and put him under a bit more pressure. Of course, 19 laps on those hards. They're going to be screaming in agony at this point, but he just is not seeming to be close enough. Is the VCARB driver against the Red Bull, but at the front of the field, it has been dominated by one man and one man only. He took pole position. He's going to take the race victory. He stole the win by the barest margins in Baku, and here in Austria, he has stolen the show. Ave Gabadi wins the Austrian Grand Prix, and it's our first double winner of the season, taking back-to-back victories. And oh boy, what fine fashion that was. Did not look ever in doubt that he would take that race, and he certainly delivered from pole position, and he's capitalised on Victor Fiddler's, of course, championship mishaps, where he's not been able to attend tonight, and that's going to be a championship lead, at least for the Ferrari driver, of 16 points heading into the break week, ending off the first 3 races the way he would love to. And as we see him collect that race winner's trophy, it's Steg on top. Not Steg, sorry. It's Gabadi on top here in Austria. And a perfect drive from the Ukrainian there, Joseph, as he takes a pole and converts it into a race victory.
Yeah, very good drive for Ave Gabadi on the alternate run as well. So he was able to have the confidence to run all the way through as the quickest driver. And in the end, he took the race victory in style. It is fair to say, what a victory for himself. And that is a very, very, very impressive one for the Ukrainian driver. Denis Langrock second place, Wojtek Steg rounding out the podium, and then Kenneth Bison, Santana, Curiel, Bieda, Janssen in the end, and Koya both rounding out the points. But you got to feel for Jeremy Galonier there. He really had the pace, but it just did not work out for him across the course of the weekend.
It certainly did not, as of course he was just trying to bring that one back, and course, it went out too early in qualifying. He would have potentially had the pace for pole. We could have seen a fight between him and Gabadi, that one, but not work out as it seemed. And unfortunately, there for Jeremy, about a recovery mission, and then with that 3-second time penalty, that just killed the entire evening and entire race. As we actually, I've just seen that Wojtek Steg was on 78% tyre wear. That's insane tyre saving there from Steg, don't you think, Joseph, to be on that lap for that tyre for 20 laps around a circuit like Austria where it's high tyre wear, only gets 78% on it. Yes, in puncture territory, but nowhere near as high as I expected.
Yeah, absolutely fair enough. I mean, it's a very, very good a very good performance for himself in the end to be able to take those tyres to the very end. And, well, I mean, it was always going to be about tyre wear this race, really. It really, really was. And, well, we're going to get the opportunity to speak to our race winner now. And, well, Ave, it was a very good race for yourself, of course, taking pole position, converting it to a win. How does that one feel?
Hello.
How did taking that race win feel, Ave? Joseph just asked you. I don't think But yeah, just how does that feel? How did that race go? And go back to back as well in the opening 3 rounds of the season. Feel good to take that championship?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And yeah, glad to be here again, as always. Yeah, pretty happy. It felt a bit sweeter. It felt a bit more tastier than the Baku win because I mean, with the good quality and the good pace, I mean, you just feel really comfortable with the car and with the setup. And also thanks to the engineers, they did really a great job, like genuinely. Huge props to them. And yeah, I mean, I had the wet weather pace, I had the dry pace. I had I was just really comfortable with the car. Like I didn't have to push or defend too much. Just it was really good in general. And yeah, nothing to add much. It was simply lovely.
Certainly was a very strong drive from you. And talking about that qualifying and the pace in the wet, just how difficult of a session is that to manage, where the track's constantly drying, the rain's slowly stopping more and more as the session goes on. What's the whole plan to potentially go out? Well, of course, you aborted that first lap when you went out on that final set. Was that always the plan, or did you make a slight mistake?
No, we really calculated everything, to be honest. I mean, obviously with the rain, it's really hard to predict, and with the prediction of the game in the wet weather, it's always changing, so you don't know where the grip really is, and yeah, you just kind of have to semi-guess where the grip is, where you can push, where you can't. Also, how to use the ERS in the rain is radically different to the dry because of no DRS and everything. And with the setup changes we did, it was just really good. And the setup was just really nice to drive. The car was planted and really good, just overall in general. And I always like the wet weather because, I mean, it's really unpredictable, and I like it when it's like that. But I mean, it was really hard to predict the grip, but I guess I managed it well and I took the gamble quite well. And on the last run, I just stopped because I had to do some changes in the car, and it paid off well.
In that race as well, you were just absolutely dominant out in front. Started on the hards. Was you expecting such a good start on that tyre? Of course, everyone else around you was. Was you expecting to potentially get into a little squabble with Grob on that opening lap?
Not really, because it's with the dirt here in the middle sector and the straight line speeds. It's not too much of a difficult track, let's say, technically wise. But with managing the tires and the DRS gap is pretty difficult. Yeah, that was quite hard because they were pushing me quite hard to overtake because they knew I was in the hard, so they would be faster at the beginning. But yeah, I just made sure that didn't happen, and it didn't. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Strong opening. Went on to the second, back over the hard. You just had immense pace. Of course, when you went back onto the hard, you fell behind, I think it was Langrock and Basner as well, potentially. Or was it? I think it was just Langrock, actually. You fell behind when you came out of the pit lane. Was the game plan, get past Langrock as quickly as you possibly can, and then hunt down Steg as quickly as possible?
Yeah, well, first of all, I didn't see Wojtek at the front. I thought everyone was going to go for a 2-stop or at least a late 1-stop. Yeah, then when we did some chat and discuss with my engineer what to do, and yeah, I was just saving the tires at the beginning, to be honest, seeing how the pace goes in general. And I saw the pace wasn't that good in front, so I just decided to overtake and push until I overtook Wojtek, and then that was just, clean air, muscle memory driving, and then yeah, I just went for it.
Head into the break week now. You are going to be leading the Drivers' Championship by a comfortable margin. After that, head to Texas. First of all, how good does it feel to be having such a big lead after the first 3 rounds? Of course. And second, will you be racing at Texas?
Yeah. I mean, that was the target, to be P1. Until, I mean, the target is always to be P1 always and everywhere. But yeah, I just worked pretty hard, did a lot of practice, and it definitely paid off. And yeah, nonetheless, I will race in Texas and probably all races if it's hopefully. And yeah, let's just see how it goes and where we go.
Now over to you, Joseph. Dave.
No, in fairness, I think you've covered it. I mean, it was pretty comprehensive, but of course, I mean, it was just such a good performance from yourself. You hoping and expecting for more after, of course, we won't be racing next week. I mean, is that going to affect the preparations all too much?
Yeah, cheers. Thank you so much, first of all. And well, I mean, it's a week to practice more, or it's a week to rest more. So whoever wants to do one of each, that's for them to decide. But I will just stick to the game plan as always, and I'll do what I do, hopefully at my best potential. So yeah, it's really hard to predict right now, but I'll give always my best.
Dave, and rest of your evening, and see you in potentially 2 weeks.
Likewise, yeah. Hopefully, see you soon.
Dave Gabaddi. We still do have second place man Dennis Langrock now lining up for an. Hello, Dennis. Can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Well, first of all, congratulations on that second place. Seemed to be quite not a boring race, but one that was very much about management. Just talk us through that one. How did things go?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. Also, what Avi done, he started on hard and then done double, like medium and then again hard. So yeah, it was interesting. And yeah, Vida's just done the basic medium hard strategy. Worked well.
Certainly did. Of course, that is your first podium of this, actually. So how good does that feel to finally, well, after 3 rounds, get onto the board of a podium and potentially put yourself into that championship picture?
Yeah, last race was really unlucky in Baku. I think I was also leading the race, or I was P2. And yeah, then things got unlucky last race in Baku. And yeah, I got just 10-second penalty for collision and got wing damage via safety car. So yeah, that was not optimum. But today we got back on a podium, and yeah, I will try to do that often this season. And yeah, try keep pushing.
Well, yeah, that was actually a really unlucky race. Baku, we didn't quite mention how unlucky you were in that streak. Well, but of course, you were interlocked in quite a battle there near the end. I wouldn't say really involving yourself too much, but you weren't able to shake off Wojtek. Was that pace difference between your hards and his one-stop hards a little bit smaller than you expected?
Yeah, of course. And yeah, where I was overtaking Wojtek, I had like literally no ERS left. I don't know if he had some ERS left to push. So yeah, it was pretty hard for me to gap him because yeah, you have 2 DRS rates, and if you don't have ERS to push, you can. It's kind of hard to gap him. But still, big GGs to him that you could stay in my DRS and still stay good in front of these guys. So yeah, that's big GGs to him.
Congratulations. Only gets 78%. So quite unreal. But of course, we head into a break week now. Just how crucial is this for the mentality before we head into that straight sprint to the end of the season podium? Is that giving you a good confidence boost for the remainder?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, I will just push as I done the last 2 races as well. So yeah, just keep going. and yeah, try to be in the championship battle.
And one last one from me before I hand you over. Sorry, Joseph. Just, of course, we head to Texas after that break week. First of all, will you be racing? Second of all, are you confident around the circuit of the?
Texas, nice track, and I will be racing, hopefully. But I think I can do it. And yeah, I like Texas. I just done many team events there, so I feel comfortable and confident there.
From Dennis. Joseph, is there any questions from you on for the man that finished second?
No, you've been very comprehensive tonight. You've run through all of my potential options. So yeah, that's all from me. Well done, Dennis.
Thanks.
Congratulations, Dennis. Yeah, go enjoy the rest of your evening. Really good drive.
Thank you. Thank you for commentating. See you soon. Bye bye.
Again.
Yeah.
But that's for interviews there, Joseph. As you can see, potentially my experience paid off there again. In as well, but of course that was not really a race of excitement, more a race of attrition and management. A completely different one to Baku, where we've gone from so much chaos to one more about methodical thinking. Just how difficult are those races for a driver where it's not really about the on-track overtakes, it's more about looking after the tyre and saving that battery?
It's weird because it's not necessarily the problem with the fact that it's about management, because they've got a lot of races to do where it'll be similar to that. But when they're used to racing side by side, it's sort of a bit of a culture shock to try and go back to what this is, which is a lot more of a strategic game. You can get used to it, but you can't get used to it if you don't experience it. And I think that's what some of the drivers picked up today. It was difficult to keep the focus all the way through, and well, that's exactly what we saw at the end, which is a couple of drivers just with tyres that were maybe a little bit too worn. Some drivers with tyres that were a little bit too little worn for their liking. They would have gone, oh, we don't actually have to pit again. So it's certainly a learning experience.
Yeah, certainly was a learning experience there for some of those drivers. And of course, yeah, as you mentioned, a very different shake-up, a very different mix-up, where it's not about those on-track battles, about that mental game, that strategy game, your head compared to being on the road. So it was interesting to see, but I did mention, of course, in those interviews, have a break week before we head to Texas. So let's now quickly, just before we head off, look at your calendar for this season. And of course, as I mentioned, next week, don't have to tune in, ladies and gentlemen. You get enough of me and potentially Joseph or Corey, whoever is going to be alongside me for Texas. You get a week off from us. And then we head into a 8-round outs. Or, 7-round shootout, should I say, of Texas, Netherlands, Brazil, Singapore, Belgium, Abu Dhabi, and ending off the season in Saudi Arabia. Of course, a very weird calendar, Joseph, of having only one break week and then having 7 back-to-back. Just how important is it for these drivers to start off in Texas with a strong result?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's very important they've got that week off, but it's more about that break week than anything else. Because if they keep pushing, like Dennis said, then they'll be in a really good place. If they take the week off, then well, it could bring them benefits, but typically what we could see is we could be seeing a lot of drivers push very, very hard for that week, and we could be seeing the quickest times that we could see all year at Texas, and the quickest times that we've seen so far on this game at Cycle at Texas as well, just because that's the way that it's been set up. Of course, with that break, it could be very, very, very interesting. Certainly a one to watch, and all the drivers will, I'm sure, be looking forward to it. They always seem to like Texas. It always seems to be a very fun circuit for them, and so we can see them racing around a circuit that they find fun, and that can bring its own benefits, because they can really just seem to extract another level out of themselves.
Yeah, they certainly can. Texas is certainly one to watch, where drivers get more time to prepare and to gone into. And of course, in a poor run throughout the rest of the season, you don't have a break week to have a mental reset. You go straight back into the next race. So if you make potentially some crucial errors at the likes of Singapore or Belgium, really derail a championship challenge. But, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is going to be all from us here in the commentary box and for this stream this evening. Is there any last words from you, Joseph, before we head off?
Just thank you for having me once again. It's always good fun to cover PSGL F3, and well, of course, don't tune in next week, but you could, of course, tune in to all of the different championships that we got, including F2 and F4 at the moment. We've got Portain by himself in F4, so make sure to check him out, give him the support that he deserves. And then, of course, you can check out F2 as well. You can get your Twitch tab open, your YouTube tab open. You can watch F2 on Twitch. You can watch F4 on YouTube. And well, we can have a good old fun time. If you did want to get racing action next week as well, Monday, the PS tiers are still racing, so you can still see the top PlayStation drivers duking it out.
Yes, so if you do want a little bit of a racing fix, yes, it's earlier on in the week. Have a look on Monday. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it. Of course, thank you, Joseph, for stepping in to the commentary box for reserving in. It's highly appreciated. Yes, go make sure you check out F2 and F4. They are going to have, of course, surely some really exciting races as well. But that is going to be all, ladies and gentlemen. So we shall see you in 2 weeks' time for a trip over to the Americas, to the circuit of the Americas in the Lone Star State. Well, join us in 2 weeks' time at 7 p.m. UK time, 8 p.m. Central European time. Be me alongside potentially Joseph, potentially Corey, of course. Get well soon to Corey. He's had a minor injury. Hopefully, he'll be back in the comms box soon. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay well. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Thank you. Bye-bye.